Most men think attraction comes from words. What you say, how you say it, the right line, the clever response. But that's what they've been taught, to speak their value instead of radiating it. Here's what no one tells you. The most magnetic men don't talk much. They don't chase validation. They don't rush to fill silence. Because the truth is, silence isn't the absence of presence. Silence is presence. And the man who can sit in it without fidgeting, without reaching, without folding, that man becomes unforgettable. Women aren't obsessed with noise. They're obsessed with energy. And silence, when held correctly, is energy under control. It's power with discipline. Fire behind glass. Think about it. Most men talk to prove themselves, to show value, to impress, to fill the space before it makes them feel exposed. But women don't fall for the man who performs. They fall for the one who doesn't need to. Silence creates a vacuum, and nature hates vacuums. So when you don't rush to explain, to compliment, to win her over, she leans in. She fills the space. She starts to wonder what you're thinking, how you're feeling, and why you're not reacting like the others. It makes her work for your energy. Not because you're playing games, but because you're not handing out access on demand. Your calm becomes a mirror. And when a woman sees herself in that mirror, she starts to chase what it reflects. Because in that stillness, she feels something rare. Mystery. Not confusion, but mystery. The kind that pulls at her instincts, not just her thoughts. Silence is misunderstood. Weak men see it as emptiness. But strong men know it's loaded. Every pause, every glance, every breath you don't rush, it all communicates something deeper than words ever could. Silence says, I don't need to prove myself. I'm not afraid of your reaction. I'm not performing for approval. That's rare. That's dangerous. That's what gets remembered. And the woman in front of you? She's used to men who chase, men who overshare, men who try to entertain her attention like it's fragile glass. But when you hold your ground, when you stay still while she stirs, it throws her off in the best way possible. Because she starts to wonder, why isn't he trying to impress me? Why does he seem so grounded? What does he know that others don't? That curiosity becomes obsession, and that obsession builds attraction without a single pickup line. If you're the kind of man who values presence over performance, hit subscribe and turn on the bell. This isn't noise, it's mastery. You see, silence doesn't mean passive. It means deliberate. It means everything you do, how you stand, how you look at her, how long you hold eye contact, is intentional. You're not reacting, you're choosing. And that energy? It speaks louder than any compliment ever could. Because women don't just feel words, they feel timing, they feel tension, they feel the restraint. And when you say nothing when most men would be talking, it sends a signal. It says, I'm not here to chase, I'm here to be. And that's rare. That's masculine. That's stoic. Silence, when combined with presence, becomes pressure. But not the kind that suffocates. It's the kind that draws her in, makes her nervous in the best way, and keeps her thinking about you long after you've left the room. Because she didn't get a performance, she got a presence, and presence lingers. There's a reason ancient warriors, kings, and philosophers spoke little. They knew that words can expose, but silence conceals power. It holds authority. It builds tension. And tension is the birthplace of desire. Women aren't obsessed with men who are loud. They're obsessed with men they can't fully figure out. The quiet ones. The ones who don't give it all away. The ones who respond with a look instead of a speech. Because when you speak less, every word becomes valuable. Every reaction becomes meaningful. And she starts to read into everything. Your tone, your stillness, your eyes. That mystery isn't a tactic. It's a frequency. A way of being. Most men give their energy too easily. They throw their attention, their validation, their availability around like it means nothing. But when you make her earn it, not with games, but with discipline, she feels the weight of your silence. And she respects it. But here's the truth. Silence only works if it's backed by presence. You can't fake calm. You can't pretend to be grounded. Women feel when silence comes from confidence and when it comes from insecurity. If your quiet is filled with fear, hesitation, overthinking, she'll sense it, and it will push her away. But if your quiet is anchored, if you're still because you don't need to prove anything, that energy is magnetic. It's not about ignoring her. It's about observing, watching how she moves, how she reacts, how she tries to pull a response from you. You don't rush. You don't bite. You just notice. And that noticing makes her feel seen on a level most men never reach. Because you're not distracted. You're not performing. You're simply there. And real presence? It's intoxicating. It wraps around her nervous system and lingers long after the moment's gone. This is where obsession begins, not in grand gestures, but in quiet control. She starts thinking about you not because you impressed her, but because she couldn't crack you. You became an unresolved question, a presence she couldn't label, and that's what haunts her. She replays your stillness, wonders what you were thinking, tells herself there was something about your energy. She just can't explain it. That's not an accident. That's the impact of masculine silence. Because the truth is, women aren't drawn to what's obvious. They're drawn to what makes them feel. And when your silence holds strength, when your stillness holds tension, she feels it. Not logically, biologically. You didn't chase. You didn't over-explain. You didn't force anything. You simply stayed grounded while she reached out into the unknown. That imbalance, that unspoken pull, that's where her obsession begins. But let's be clear, silence isn't about being cold. It's about being selective. You're not withholding affection out of fear. You're filtering who deserves your energy. And when you do choose to speak, to compliment, to engage, it lands. It hits deeper, because it's rare. A man who's always available loses value. But a man who moves with intention, every gesture feels deliberate. Every glance feels chosen. And women don't want to be overwhelmed. They want to be noticed. Silently, powerfully, without performance. That's the paradox. By saying less, you say more. By doing less, you make her feel more. Because she doesn't want words. She wants depth, presence. That feeling of being seen by someone who doesn't need her, but chooses her. And that's where silence becomes seductive. Not because it's empty, but because it's charged with purpose. It doesn't beg. It doesn't explain. It simply holds its ground and lets her wonder. She'll test it. She'll tease. She'll create little moments just to pull a reaction from you. A comment meant to provoke. A silence meant to pressure. A flirtation meant to spark jealousy. And most men, they fold. They react. They lose the frame. But you hold. You don't flinch. You don't compete. You stay rooted. Not cold. Not dismissive. Just unmoved. And that shakes her, because it breaks the pattern. She's used to control, used to being the center of gravity. But when she meets a man who can't be pulled, who doesn't orbit her emotions, suddenly, she's the one who starts to chase. Not because you manipulated her, but because your silence spoke to something deeper. It told her, you're not afraid to lose her. You're not there for approval. You're grounded in your own energy. And that kind of man is rare. This is where everything shifts. She no longer sees you as just another man trying to impress her. She sees you as a presence, calm, unbothered, intriguing, the kind of presence that lingers long after you're gone. She starts to check her phone more, wonders why you haven't texted, replays your words, your tone, your pauses. She starts to ask her friends what they think you meant when you said almost nothing at all, because you didn't give her answers. You gave her space to feel. And that space? It's addictive. It's not about being absent. It's about being unforgettable, without effort. And when she talks to others, they talk. They impress. They try. But you were just there, present, aware, silent. And that silence carried more weight than 1,000 words ever could. That's how you shift from being liked to being obsessed over. But let's not romanticize this. Silence is only powerful when it's earned, when it's built on self-respect, not insecurity. When it comes from abundance, not fear. If you're quiet because you're unsure, because you don't know what to say, or because you're afraid of saying the wrong thing, it will fail. True masculine silence is rooted in certainty. It's the calm of a man who's walked through fire and doesn't flinch at sparks. A man who knows who he is, what he brings, and what he'll never tolerate. That's the foundation. Without that inner clarity, your silence becomes emptiness. With it, your silence becomes magnetism. And here's the secret. Women can feel the difference. They may not be able to explain it, but they know. They know when they're in the presence of a man who doesn't need to be loud, because everything about him already speaks. So don't rush to speak. Don't try to fill the silence. Learn to sit in it, own it, let it stretch. Let her feel your presence instead of your pitch, because the man who can remain still in a world that's constantly reaching, that man becomes unforgettable. She won't say it, but she'll feel it. In the pause, in your calm, in the way you don't scramble to impress her. You'll become the moment she replays, the energy she can't explain, the mystery that keeps her coming back. That's the power of Stoic attraction. It's not in your voice. It's in your stillness. It's not in what you say. It's in what you withhold. And when you master that, you don't chase women. They chase the feeling they had around you. And that feeling was silence. Stay silent. Stay composed. Stay irresistible.